Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our evening chat. Tonight, we're going to discuss, are you aging well or are you aging poorly? That's the topic for this evening. So we'll be starting in a few moments, and I hope everybody get settled and relax, and we'll be starting in about 20 seconds or so. We got some people coming in. But welcome, everybody. If you're first time, my name is Robert Hansen. Welcome to our chat. We do these once a month, usually on a Wednesday evening, and we try to touch on various topics that hopefully will help people to enjoy their evening and get a little insight. So let's begin. The topic tonight is, are you aging well or are you aging poorly? Now, this is obviously a topic that most people take very, very seriously, and sometimes they take it very casually. Some people are indifferent to aging. Other people take it like it's a major barrier, a ton of bricks on their back. So let's get to it. You know, when you hear the expression, are you aging well or aging, it simply signals or suggests that we're talking about people in their senior years, right? People in their silver period of time or their golden age period of time. But it really refers to all aging. Whether you're a child, whether you're a teenager, whether you're an adult, this topic points to all of it. So if you have adult children coming up, if you have daughter-in-laws, son-in-laws, if you have grandchildren, this applies to them too, you know. Aging is not just limited to white-haired folks like me, you know. It occurs with other folks as well. There are two areas that I want to touch on when referring to time. Aging refers to time. How does the organism, how does the relationship, how does time affect the seasoning process, or again, what is referred to as the aging process? This is going to get a little bit tricky, but I think it will help you understand a lot better what I'm pointing to as we get into the talk tonight. The word time, of course, it's used every single day. You're here on time for my talk tonight, right? But the time, the element of time, is really a manifestation of the human being's own invention, its own creation. What do I mean by that? Somewhere along the line, somebody back in Egypt or in the Mideast, they took a stick, a simple stick, and they put it into the ground, and they created, way back, maybe 7,000 years ago, who knows exactly, they invented some form of a sundial. The sun cast shadows at different points, and they realized that in order to identify these shifts in daylight and sunlight and night and darkness and so on, they created a concept called time. It became a device, a tool of use, very similar to the automobile or the wheel on a wagon. The wheel was invented. I mean, as people, we think the wheel's been around forever, and it has not. It's been around a long time. But relatively speaking, it's an invention of other humans. Somebody popped up with this idea and said, rather than dragging logs across the ground, why don't we come up with something? And the idea of the wheel was invented. And today, of course, the wheel is in every vehicle just about on Earth. You know, it's a universal positive tool to have available to one, right? Time is also the same thing. Time creates a very, very powerful tool for us. We wear wristwatches, we have clocks on the wall, you know, we have sundials, there's hourglasses, there's all kinds of time-pointing devices. People in the nautical fields, out on the oceans, the Vikings way back in the old days, the great explorers like Columbus, for example, they measured time by the rotation of the stars. They knew it was going from one month to another, from one season to another, from one time lapse to another. That process of time became ingrained in the human condition. Thus the term clock time. So when I refer to this evening to the term clock time, I am pointing to the time of the world at large. What time you get up in the morning, what time you go to sleep at night, set your alarm by the right hour, the right time. The other type of time, which is really more what we're driving at this evening, is psychological time. Psychological time is also a creation of the human animal. We think in terms of yesterday, we think in terms of next week, last month, last year, 5 years from now, yesterday morning, etc. Therefore, when we put the word time into the term aging, there's a correlation. What most people think of is that I am aging and I am, quote, using up my time, you see. And when people see that they're using up their time, like the sand coming out of the hourglass, which I just mentioned, there's an expectation that we should have a full hourglass and it should take us a very long time based upon the hourglass for us to move along. And anything that interrupts that time frame that we have established psychologically, we become upset, disappointed, frustrated. One of the things that happens with people is they compare one period of time to another period of time. And this is really the thrust of my little talk here tonight. When we are dealing with time in terms of how was I when I was 21? I used to be much better when I was 18. Oh, I wish I was back to 30 years old again, right? Many people speak like this, if not everybody. I mean, there are people who accept their aging process graciously. This is why the topic is called aging poorly or aging with joy and with happiness, right? Are you aging well or are you aging poorly? So again, we're referring to age. So when your age is discussed, your birthday is brought up, and you're born in 1950, and now it's 2022, you say, oh my goodness, I'm at 72 years, I'm beginning to really ripen, I'm really beginning to age, right? And when we measure or compare where we are now to what it used to be, we are creating a problem. Whatever you experienced earlier on in your life, whatever you experienced last month, last year, whatever the variation might be, instinctively we tend to compare the way it was to the way it is now. And we make a mental conscious decision. Do I feel better? Do I feel more relaxed? Do I feel less pain? Do I have a better retirement? And we begin to measure from what was to what is. If we have not arrived well psychologically where we think we should be, we become self-judgmental. I'm not aging well, my body is changing, I don't have the same enthusiasm, I don't think the same, I don't move the same, I don't flow the same. Therefore, my aging is taking things away from me. For people who suggest they're aging well, they say, well, I'm aging well because I'm healthy, I have no issues, I have plenty of money in the bank, I'm going on vacations, and my aging process is going well. That again is a comparison between what you came from to where you are now, where you suggest you will be in years to come. Not knowing that tomorrow morning you could take a flop down the stairs and twist your ankle and spend the next year hobbling around. I'm not hoping that doesn't happen to you, but I think you understand my point. So in spiritual practice, which is really what this whole thing is all about, one of the things that I caution people about doing is about this word I've used several times already, and that is to compare. Please don't compare. If you go back to the way it was, you can find all the great moments, and you can find all the sad moments, and you can find the confusing moments. We all go through this as part of a life process, and this is called for many people the classroom of life. You learn things, you improve your skills, you learn things that are good for you, you learn things that are bad for you. Sometimes that becomes a problem. There are things that you know that are bad for you, and you continue to do them with the excuse you need it because you're not aging like you want, so you want something else to offset that lack of well-being, that lack of sense, that sense of centeredness seems to move away from you a little bit, right? So when we age, again, we're going back to my first opening statements here. You can look at the mirror, you can look at your birth certificate, you can look at photos when you were back in the old days, quote unquote, and you can say, wow, I'm aging. I have more wrinkles, my skin is a little different, I don't have the same pop in my step, and this is a beautiful thing. Now, other than people who are struggling with tremendous pain, severe cancer, something like that, listen, there's no getting around it that the aging, even though they're aging, they are also hit with other massive complications connected to that. And I'm not minimizing anyone with that. In spiritual practice, so this is brought up with Zen masters, for example, and other people in spiritual work. They speak about their woes and their challenges and their health, and they have radiation, or they have lost 2 legs and they've come back from military service without a limb. And they simply make the comment, man, I'm aging bad. Look at me, I'm a mess. And the truth of it is, yes, on one level, they're completely correct. That's no argument. You can't disagree with a guy there or a lady that's lost both legs and tell her that it's a great thing to have happen. It's just not. It's a very, very big adjustment. And let's not kid ourselves. It's a form of body grief. Your body was functioning one way and you wake up the next day and in a hospital someplace and you realize you have no more legs. You're going to say, in some level, I am aging poorly. This is bad. I don't like it. At my age, I should not be dealing with all of these challenges. At my age, I should not be worrying about the grief of losing someone that I love. I'm only a young person, let's say 40 years old, and my wife just passed away and my husband just died. I shouldn't be dealing with this at my age. But this is where the conflict comes in. Again, and I know I'm repeating it, but it's important for you guys. When you compare what was to what is, you will never be satisfied. You will always seek the past to improve the sense of it. We modify past challenges. Oh, it was much better back then. But when you were back then, you said to yourself, I can't wait to get older because this will go away. I think you all know what I'm talking about. So there's always this contrast between psychological time and clock time. That's just the big boy on the block. That's what really drives this conversation. So when one says they are aging poorly, they are implying that their expectations, what they thought would occur, is not moving the way they want. It just is not. And they are complaining about it, griping about it, being angry about it, being upset about it. And as a result of that, their days are not filled with any sense of joy. I mean, just the joy of taking a hot cup of coffee, that goes out the window. Just sitting in your easy chair, watching a TV show or listening to the rainfall. For many people, they are so conflicted about wanting to get back to the way it was, irritated, angry about what is in front of them, that they really age very, very poorly. They age with complaint. They age with dissatisfaction. They age with an annoyance about them continually, and yet they expect people to hover around them, somehow wooing and cooing their wounds. And you'll find that people will begin to distance yourself or themselves from you because there's no sense of happiness in you. And I have met wonderful people who have been through hell, especially these great Americans who have served in foreign countries in our own nation, who have suffered enormous injury. And they come back and find some settled life, right? And you meet people who have gone through terrible grief, terrible death in families, and they somehow settle. And when you speak to them, I ask them, I say, hey, how are you doing this? Can you explain a little bit to me? And they'll tell me, Rob, this is the way it is. I've come to accept this. Now, when I use the word acceptance, I'm not referring to accepting it to the point where I don't care what happens to me. No one's saying that. If you have a heart condition, you have to accept the idea that you have it, and then you go take care of it. You don't say, I have it, do nothing about it, then you really have a problem and you can't even get out of bed, and then you're complaining about it when you had a chance to fix it, right? So this is a very, very common malady with a lot of people. They're seeking to be rescued, they're seeking other people to do it for them. Thus, their aging is poor. On the other hand, you meet folks who see it. What I mean by seeing it, they realize internally as a real part of their being. It's not being coached into them necessarily. They're not trying to be talked into it by anybody, but they sense that this is the evolution of their particular body. This is what has happened to them. They are not in denial about it. They don't resist what has occurred. They accept, this is what I have done to myself. I smoked tobacco all my life. I have lung cancer, God forbid, and this is what I've done to myself. I can barely get out of bed, right? There are people that are like that. They say, I know I did it to myself, but in my last days or my last years, or whatever the case might be, I want to live well. I want to live well. I don't want to live poorly, sitting in the house with the doors closed, whining all day and making phone calls and screaming at people I don't know. I want to be able to move into my life and, quote, enjoy. You know that word enjoy? I'm sure you all know that word. I want to enjoy myself. It means to have joy within, to be at peace or at joy within. Right? There's a term that I write about a lot in Facebook when I sign off on certain things that I write to people, and I'll often say, peace be with you, right? It's not a punchline. It's a sincere statement of affection. It's a sincere statement that for myself, the boss that I work for, all of that is peace be with you. I leave you my peace. Meaning, peace says, I accept this moment, just like we're doing right now, this moment as it is. And when you see this moment as it is, there is no more time. There is also no more sense or thoughts, I am aging. It is simply, I am here, my spirit, my soul is here, I am present in this moment, and I accept fully the joy of being alive in this moment with its challenges, with its conflicts, with its medications, with its doctor's visits, etc. But I accept it fully. I am not resisting the path that is unfolding through my soul. I'm not resisting one bit of it. Therefore, by doing this, I am not comparing to what was. And by the way, whatever was is over. It has fallen back into the eternal past. It is not, will not, cannot be ever returned to you. You can look at photo albums, you can look at old pictures when you played football, you can look at pictures of when you served in the Marine Corps, you can do whatever you want to do. That's got nothing to do directly with today. It has nothing. It's a legacy. It's an honorable one, I hope. It's one you feel proud of, I hope. We all have our blips and mistakes, of course. Me as well as everybody else, right? Of course, right? That's how we learn things. We stumble and we stand and we brush ourselves off and we keep going. But this topic is aimed at trying to eliminate for you, actually, the idea of aging poorly or aging well. That's why I asked, are you aging poorly or are you aging well? Trying to get you to think about what you think should be or should have been. What will be, I hope, what might be, I hope, or what is. And when you really, really, really start to live in the present moment, when you begin to settle into that, this whole concept of before and after start to move away from you. And the whole idea of good and bad start to move away from you too. It simply is as it is. And I know I've shared this comment in my other chats in the past, so forgive me if I'm repeating one, but it's extremely powerful for me. It's one that's really helped transform a lot of my personal experience. And that is, whatever the Father's will is, so be it. Meaning, the universe is unfolding with you. You're not an independent agent here. You are a creation of the world. You are a creation like the trees. You're a creation like the wind. You were born from the same breath of life, right? You are. You're part of it. It's your mind that tells you, your thought machine that is telling you good, bad, right or wrong, good, bad, right or wrong. If you go to buy a car in the world, a mechanical process, you want to pick out a good car and you want to avoid a bad car. No disagreement on this. I agree with you 100%, all of you, of course. But when we're talking internally, not externally, internally, then it's a different topic. Good and bad, right or wrong, I have sinned, no I have, yes I have, judgment, self-punishment, self-harm, self-depredation, or the opposite. I'm wonderful, I'm amazing, I can't handle it, I'm so wonderful, everybody should be coming to kiss my feet. That kind of a person. Where are they all? This is one of the things, of course, you guys realize that happens to people of great stature in public, football players, athletes, celebrity musicians, people that perform on Broadway, people in movie business. You see these things, what happened to them after? And what they look like back in their 20s and 30s, these shapely models or muscle-bound guys or whatever, when you see them in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, you're like, really? What happened to them? Look at them. Oh, my goodness, what happened? That's, again, judgment. They don't see it as the ripening of a human being in its natural ripening process created by the Father above. It's a natural process. That's what it is. And if you accept what you are and who you are, then the natural process is blossoming within you. So you are, quote, growing, but that growth is in every breath, in every moment. Not again, and I know I'm harping on this, it's not a projection out, it's not a reclaiming of the past. It is saying, here I am now, this is where I am. My pockets are empty. I have to watch my budget. I have a bad knee. My rent is past due. I am struggling. But I'm here and I'm breathing and I can speak and I can give someone a hug if they want to. I can kiss somebody if they want me to. I can watch a TV show. If not, I don't even have a television. I can watch the beauty of the sun rising and the trees blowing and the beautiful birds that fly around us. There is always something to be grateful for in each moment. There are people that I have met, which at first, when I first met them, I thought they were crazy. They said, I'm very grateful for this pain. I said, you out of your mind that you're grateful for this pain? They said, Robert, if I didn't have the pain, I wouldn't have found the tumor. And by not finding a tumor, I wouldn't be talking to you. I am grateful for that pain because it brought me to a doctor who helped me remove a tumor from my leg. And without that aching pain, I wouldn't have gone, or I would have drank myself and not noticed it or something, and I probably could have lost my leg. But I'm grateful for that pain that came. It acted as a teacher and as a guide for me. You understand, guys? So when we talk about this moment, the now, here and now, there is no more past. There is no more future. It is simply the presence of this moment. Now, in this moment, if you want to go back to clock time, you can say, I'm 72, I'm 75, I'm 61, I'm 38, whatever. You can identify yourself with an hourglass of sand. If you wish to do that, you can. I mean, on your license, you need it. For Social Security, you need it. I get it. It's a very practical thing to know how old you are. And prove it, of course. It has a very practical value, but not internally. You are timeless. Timeless. Someone asked this young Jewish kid up on the cross, who are you? And he gave multiple answers at different times. But one of his answers was, I am the Alpha and I am the Omega, which simply translates into, I have no beginning and I have no ending, which means he is timeless or devoid of all aging. And that man simply said, what lives within me lives within you. You are a timeless creation, a beautiful soul, with no beginning and no ending. You are eternal. And that is the absolute positive truth. You are an eternal being. What is limited by time is your physical structure, the brain, the arms, the legs, the feet that move, all that stuff. That is a time-based diminishing experience. If you walk into the forest, you see a sapling coming up out of the ground. It reflects a beautiful new tree to be blossomed over the years. Then you see right near it an oak tree that has fallen or a maple that's fallen over, all withered and broken apart. And people say, wow, look at that old tree, right? If the tree could talk, the tree wouldn't say, I had a bad life or a good life. The tree would simply say, this is where I am, and I'm falling. And the tree would simply say, this is me, I'm the little sprout, and this is me, I'm expanding. There's no judgment. Just it is as it is. So if you come to that place where you begin to see this, that it is as it is, and you receive life in its full measure as it is, then the concept of aging poorly or aging well begins to disappear. For social workers, for example, who work in geriatrics, which I really admire those folks, they try to help elderly people, especially the elderly, live well. Make sure their nutrition is there, their medications are correct, they have a warm clothing, place to go, help with the bathrooms if they need it, and so on and so on and so on. A movie to be shown, or crafts to be done, or theatrics to come in and perform. It's on the external process, that's a very enjoyable aging experience. No argument, right? And conversely, if things were rough when you were growing up or whatever, and it was very challenging and very difficult, you again could reflect back and say, that was poorly, I'm aging very poorly. I mean, I'm just sick, I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm tired, I'm alone, I'm broken, I'm aging badly. So for the last little bit on this, I'm promising you, if you simply draw your attention to the present moment, the only moment you can live in, my friends, is in the present moment. You can't live anywhere else. And if you reject the beauty, the awe, the grace of the present moment, it only occurs if you demand something different in the future, which could be the next minute from now, or you demand that something be different about the past, which is unchangeable. Either way, it causes confusion, suffering, and the term poorly will come out of your mouth, or badly if you like that lingo. So if I may ask you all, if you have the opportunity, take a breath and really pay attention to each moment as it rises in you. As it evolves, as it blossoms, you will become more and more in touch with your essence. Your attention will turn more to your interior, not the clock on the wall or measuring when you're going to die or all these things that generate tremendous fear. You know, people talk about this to me all the time. I'm getting old, I'm going to die, I'm so scared to die, and so on and so forth, which means they're always projecting. They're frightened of leaving what they know, right? You can't be frightened of the unknown. I hope you realize that. You can't be scared of something you don't know. Now, I'm not talking about walking down a dark hallway, you don't know where you are. That's a biological reaction where you're on edge and you're waiting to see if there's a problem you can't really see. So it's a measured experience that all animals, every animal in the world has it. Some kind of a pause in them so they don't hurt themselves like, or walk into a trap or something. Yeah, of course. Everybody has that. I'm not referring to that. That's an instinctive preparation for the moment you're in. Absolutely. But if something happened to you 5 years ago and you can't get it out of your head and you keep dragging it into the present moment and you keep replaying it, how something injured you 5 years back and you're suffering with it now, that's your personal movement. Your mind is demanding that you pay attention to what was, right? This is why many people out there have, who have severe things of PTSD and so on, they need assistance. They do. And there's wonderful people that will help these folks. There are. And they do need assistance because some of the trauma is so dramatic, you just can't get past it. But, And again, this is not religion, but if you look at the man on the cross, that particular character in history, that man, he goes up on the wood according to the expressions of what we've read about. And he says, it is thy will, let it happen. In other words, he's saying, I accept this situation. I can't resist it. I can't fight it. I can't get down. I'm going to die. I know I'm going to die. And it's thy will, let it be done. And he allows the body to fall. He can't change it. As a human being, he could not change it. But internally, he taught one of the greatest lessons of all time. Father, it is thy will, let it be done. In other words, allow it, accept it as it is, because it is. When it is as it is, it is as it is. What is the point of fighting it? If you have two legs missing, they're not going to grow back. So either you accept it with some sense of settledness, which you may call joy or peace about it, have peace about it. Yes, this is my situation. This is what it is, right? There's nothing wrong about having hope and saying maybe down the road, I don't know, maybe they'll come up with some kind of a high-end variation of leg prosthesis and I can start running again or something. Who knows? That's nothing wrong with that. But to dwell on it, to make it become your passion, to make your mind constantly run there, to go there, to think about it all the time, that becomes life-ending. When I say by life-ending, I don't mean it's going to kill you, but the joy of life is being smothered by it. By the way, the joy of life is always here. It's like just waiting to be opened. It's just like this, waiting. And I'm not talking about momentary joys when you win the lottery for $50 or your wife makes a special dinner and you enjoy it. That's great. No argument. It's great. But the joy I'm talking about is deeper. It's a deeper peace. It's a knowing deep down that you're being loved and you're being cared for by a power greater than yourself. And if you stay in the timeless, meaning now, there is no time in the now, the ideas of aging poorly or aging well slowly start to pull away. And you will simply say, I am aging. Yes, my body is going through time. That's true. I'm a biological creature. That is true. But internally, I'm alert. I am clear. I'm in this moment. If I feel myself going all over the place, I come back to my breathing. I relax down. I settle and realize, in other words, become awareness, that your mind is taking you for a little journey that's not too pleasant. And you bring the mind back and say, we're here. This is where I am. You take a glass of water or a glass of juice or whatever you like. Put your feet up, relax. If you have a big challenge, you have something you have to face. If you're having surgery in the morning, I've been through plenty. You wake up and say, this is what I have to do. This is what I have to do. And you come to a place of peace about it. You do. Is there anxiety about surgery? Of course there is. But that's part of the acceptance. That's part of the nails in the hand. That's the surgery in the morning, right? You accept it because you have to go through it. That's it. And when you see that, intimately and personally, it'll set you free. It will set you free. So I'm glad we spent a little time here tonight, you guys. Remember, no comparisons and no contrasts. Please don't compare your aging to anyone else's. Don't compare aging to the past. Don't compare aging to the future. Don't compare it to what happened 2 minutes ago. Just stay present. And if you wander out of it, which is very normal, when you can, when you catch it, return back to center. Take a breath, give grace, be thankful for the breath you were just given. I often say this, Many people, I say take a breath to people, and they go, okay, I'll take a breath. You know how many people can't take a whole breath? Who would do anything to have one full, joyous breath or one deep laughter without having to need a feeding tube in their throat? Count your blessings, my friends, and if you happen to have these things, so be it. That is the physical process your form is going through. That's what it is. Your form is going through it. Just to finish this up, I watch football. I like watching football. And some of these young athletes are just amazing. They can do crazy, crazy stuff. They're like supermen almost. They can do really remarkable things on a football field or a baseball player or whatever. I mean, it's amazing what they can accomplish. People say, oh, I wish I was them. I want to be like that. Meaning, I don't want to be who I am. I don't want to be this magnificent creation that I was given. I want to be something else because like this, I don't feel as complete or special or unique or powerful or whatever the case might be. Find some humility in that. Ask for guidance. Stay settled. And with all respect to all of you, don't sweat the aging thing. It's just a mind game. What is important is to be present. You don't want to look back and say, I wasted so much time and I know better and I did it. If you didn't know that you were doing it, you can't be held responsible for it, right? But if you know you're intentionally driving yourself cuckoo, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and you're suffering because of that, it's a conscious decision. It's a conscious choice. You do it. The key is if you catch it, and when you catch it, you can alter it. You can approach it differently. So with that, I'm going to say good night to you all. I hope you enjoyed this little talk. One more time, this was on Are You Aging Well or Aging Poorly? I hope that helped you out with this a little bit. God bless you all and thank you.